बच्चों, कैसे हैं? तो स्टार्ट करते हैं प्लांट किंगडम। प्लांट किंगडम की बात कर लें तो प्लांट किंगडम, काफी दिन हो गए ना वीडियो नहीं आया, तो इस बार हम वीडियो लेकर आए हैं। इस बार प्लांट किंगडम के बारे में बताना है। सो प्लांट किंगडम डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट्स। कौन से पार्ट्स? टू पार्ट्स। नंबर 1 क्रिप्टोगैम, नंबर 2 फेनरोगैम। क्रिप्टोगैम एंड फेनरोगैम, क्रिप्टो फेनरो। सो क्रिप्टोगैम इज डिवाइडेड इनटू 3 पार्ट्स। कौन कौन से पार्ट्स? थैलो, ब्रायो, टेरिडो। इनमें फ्लावर नहीं होता, सीड नहीं होता। थैलोफाइटा, ब्रायोफाइटा, टेरिडोफाइटा। किसमें? थैलो, ब्रायो, टेरिडो। नाउ टेरिडो क्यों? पी साइलेंट होता है। अब यहाँ पे पी साइलेंट नहीं है, यहाँ पे हेरोगैम्स नहीं, यहाँ पे फेनरोगैम्स है। फेनरोगैम 2 पार्ट्स में, इसमें एक में फ्लावर होता है और एक में फ्लावर नहीं होता है। जैसे जिम्नोस्पर्म नो फ्लावर, एंजियोस्पर्म फ्लावरिंग प्लांट्स, सीडफुल प्लांट्स होते हैं। ये थैलोफाइटा 2 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड, एल्गे, फंजाई। क्लियर? चलो चल लेते हैं क्रिप्टोगैम और फेनरोगैम के बीच में डिफरेंस। ठीक है, सबसे पहले बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है क्रिप्टोगैम और फेनरोगैम। क्रिप्टोगैम सीडलेस प्लांट होते हैं और फेनरोगैम सीडफुल प्लांट होते हैं। क्रिप्टोगैम में 3 डिवीजन डिवाइडेड इनटू थैलोफाइटा, ब्रायोफाइटा, टेरिडोफाइटा एंड इन 2 डिवीजन ऑफ फेनरोगैम, दैट इज वन इज जिम्नोस्पर्म एंड एंजियोस्पर्म। ऑलरेडी रिटन हियर, ये देखो ऑलरेडी यहाँ पे रिटन है। Now no ovule is going to be taken place in cryptogam and here the ovule is present. Now next thing is pollination is absent. Here the pollination is present. So ovule is present, it means pollination is happened. No ovule means no pollination. Actually it required external water for fertilization. Outside जो water होता है उसका fertilization में इसमें use होता है, लेकिन इसमें कोई भी external fertilization नहीं होता, internally होता है. That's why there is no use of the water. तो अब अगला पार्ट हम लोग चलेंगे किस पे? हम लोग चलेंगे प्लांट किंगडम के क्रिप्टोगैम और फेनरोगैम, और सबको अलग अलग करके हम लोग देख लेते हैं। ओके, सो लेट्स सी फॉर द नेक्स्ट वन।
तो बच्चों बात कर लेते हैं एल्गे के बारे में। एल्गे कंसिस्ट ऑफ क्लोरोफिल बियरिंग। एल्गे में क्लोरोफिल प्रेजेंट होता है। द सेकेंड थिंग, इट इज वेरी सिंपल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ थैलॉइड एज अ स्टेम। दे आर ऑटोट्रॉपिक, प्रिपेयर देयर ओन फूड। इनका बहुत ही सिंपल स्ट्रक्चर होता है। थैलॉइड्स होते हैं इसमें और ये ऑटोट्रॉपिक होते हैं। आफ्टरवर्ड्स दे आर लार्ज एक्वेटिक फ्रेश वाटर एंड मरीन, lives in the fresh water also and also in the sea water also. They lives in moist stone. They lives in a moist stone in a soil or any type of the wood. So basically where they are found, ये भी इसमें लिखा हुआ है। कैसे होते हैं ये भी लिखा हुआ है, सिंपल लिखा हुआ है। Thaloids present, chlorophyll bearing, and they are divided into 2 parts. It's very important have you understood that algae is divided into 2 parts. One is lichen, another is sloth beer. Lichen, algae and fungi. Sloth, as you already know, sloth एक type का animal होता है। That animal is very lazy. तो उसके जो fur यानी कि hairs होते हैं उसमें ये algae grow हो जाते हैं। तो sloth beer in animals and lichens, algae and fungi. Example, if I say microscopic unicellular Chlamydomonas, colonial form in the volvax, and filamentous form if I say Ulothrix and Spirogyra. तो 3 तरीके की चीज़ें आपके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है। माइक्रोस्कोपिक यूनिसेलुलर में क्लाइमेडोमोनास आ जाएगा, कॉलोनियल अगर हो गया तो वॉल्वॉक्स आ जाएगा, और अगर फिलामेंटस में कह दिया तो यूलोथ्रिक्स और स्पाइरोजाइरा। बात कर लेते हैं रिप्रोडक्शन की। इन द रिप्रोडक्शन इट इज़ ऑफ 2 टाइप्स, एक्चुअली इट इज़ ऑफ 3 टाइप्स: वेजिटेटिव, asexual and sexual. So if I go for the vegetative, it goes for fragmentation, which is developed into thallus. Fragmentation developed into thallus. The second one, asexual. They are used to produce spores. The spores are going to be formed. Flagellated and motile means they are movable and germinated on the new plants. ये जहाँ भी जाते हैं बहते हुए वहाँ पर जाकर ये अपना फ्लैजिला की हेल्प से मूव करते हैं और जाकर एक नया प्लांट ग्रो कर देते हैं। इफ आई गो फॉर द सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन, देन सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन कंसिस्ट ऑफ मेल एंड फीमेल एंड द गैमेट इज फॉर्म डिप्लॉइड। यहाँ पर जो एन और एन लिखा हुआ है, इट मीन्स हैप्लॉइड इन स्ट्रक्चर, हाफ नंबर ऑफ द क्रोमोसोम एंड दे मिक्स विद ईच अदर टू फॉर्म अ full number of chromosome. If the gametes are similar, they are called as isogamous. As example, Ulothrix. If the gametes are non-motile, they are called as Spirogyra. And if they are motile, they are called as Chlamydomonas. So if gametes are similar, then they are isogamous, and if dissimilar in size, they are formed into two parts. Anisogamous, and some species of the Chlamydomonas are like this. Isogamous, they are similar in structure. Anisogamous, they are dissimilar in the size. Okay. So algae is divided into three classes. तीन क्लासेस पहले भी आपको बताई गई मैंने डिफरेंस में. Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae, Rhodophyceae. According to the color, they are given their name. Chloro means chlorophyll, green in color. Phaeophyceae, it is brown in color. And Rhodophyceae, it is red in color. So let's tell about the Chlorophyceae. Also called as a green algae. They are unicellular, colonial, and filamentous. They have chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. They have a storage body which is called as pyrenoids. They also have a rigid cell wall. Inside it is made up of cellulose and outside it is made up of pectose. So cellulose say outside or pectose say inside. If I go for the reproduction, so reproduction is vegetative, asexual and sexual. Vegetative by fragmentation, asexual by zoosporangia, and sexual by sex cells or maybe isogamous or oogamous. वेजिटेटिव पता ही है आप लोगों को फ्रैगमेंटेशन से, एसेक्सुअल जूस्पोरेजिया से, और सेक्सुअल आइसोगैमस एंड एनाइसोगैमस. एग्जांपल वॉल्वॉक्स एंड क्लाइमेडोमोनास. इफ आई गो फॉर द Phaeophyceae, then it is called as a brown algae found in a sea and ocean, simple and branched. Example kelps 100 meter. They have chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C, carotenoids and xanthophyll. This xanthophyll gives brown color due to fucoxanthin. Protoplast have plastids, vacuoles and nucleus, and it also have a stack and fronds for photosynthesis. मतलब इसमें स्टैल्क और फॉन्ट्स होता है फोटोसिंथेसिस के लिए. प्रोटोप्लास्ट में प्लास्टिड और वैक्यूल और न्यूक्लियस पाए जाते हैं. Here also reproduction is divided into three parts: vegetative, asexual and sexual. Vegetative by fragmentation, asexual by zoospore, sexual isogamous or oogamous. Here the oogamous is pear-shaped in structure and it is also called as pyriform structure. Example fucus, sagacum and dictata. The third one is Rhodophyceae, also called as a red algae. They are red in color due to red pigment, and the red pigment is called as R-phycoerythrin. They found in warm areas and marine water, deep in the ocean, because they have a thallus and multicellular, and also they store food as a Floridian starch. Again, the reproduction is vegetative fragmentation, asexual non-motile, and sexual by motile gametes oogamous. They do post-fertilization development. Example Xylidium and Pyro. Next one is Bryophyta. एक क्वेश्चन आता है, who is the amphibian of the plant? So the name is Bryophyta because they live in soil but depends water for sexual reproduction. Commonly found growing in the moist shaded areas in the hills, means they are growing in the moist shaded areas. They also present in the damp, humid and shaded localities. What is the important role? On the bare rocks or soil, these are the plant succession, the plant which grows on the bare rocks and soils. It is thallus-like, prostrate or erect, and they attach to the substratum by the help of the rhizoids as small roots, which is also called as the root hairs. Example lax. True roots, stem, leaves do not have xylem and phloem. The main body plant is haploid, produce gametes, gametophytes, and sex organ is multicellular. Now if I go for the male and female, the male is called as antheridium and the female is called as archigonia. The male produces male gametes, female produces female gametes. The male gametes is called as anthrozoids and the female gamete is called as egg. They both fuse together to do the reduction division and form a zygote. The zygote go for the reduction division and also next to the plant it becomes a bryophytid plant. That is also zygote is also called as sporophytes. They are multicellular, attached to the free non-living cell. They have photosynthesis and they derive nutrition from pteridophyte. If I go for the bryophyta, the next one, they are divided into two parts, liverwort and mosses. Now next, first one is liverworts. They are moist shady habitat, marshy grounds, bark of the trees, and it is thalloid, means the thalloid called as merchantia. Example, thalloid is present in merchantia. कहाँ पे होते हैं? सैडी हैबिटेट्स में, मार्शी ग्राउंड में, ट्रीज में, इन सभी जगहों पर. रिप्रोडक्शन इज ऑफ टू टाइप्स. Asexual, if it is for asexual, it becomes a fragmentation, and the second is gamy. Gamy is a green multicellular, and asexual budding is also called as budding. Sexual reproduction is consists of male and female, male on the same thalli and female on the different thalli. After the meiosis, spores are produced within the capsule, and these spores are free living gametophytes. These spores are free living gametophyte. Example, Funaria. If I go for the mosses, mosses have a life cycle in the two stage, protonema and leafy stage. This protonema developed directly from the spores. It is green, branched, filamentous. Protonema developed directly from the spores, which is green, branched and filamentous. If I go for the leafy stage, develop from secondary protonema, attached to the soil through rhizoids, root hairs, and they bears sex organs. If I go for the reproduction, it is of two types, vegetative and sexual. Vegetative is fragmentation, budding in secondary protonema, and sexual reproduction, again this one, antheridium and archegonium. Antheridium and archegonium produce leafy shoots, and this forms zygote. Zygote is saprophytes because it consists of three tip parts, foot, seta and capsule. Foot, stable, capsule, upper part, seta is the middle part. And also after meiosis they contain spores. Example, mosses. Mosses example is Funaria, Polytrichum, sphagnum. Liverworts, Merchantia, Riccia. What is the importance? Question is coming. What is the importance of mosses? Provide food to the herbaceous mammals, those mammals which provide which gets the food from that one. Is sphagnum used as a fuel and have water holding capacity? Used as a packed material for transport of the living material. First organism which forms colony on the rocks. Mosses will lichen decomposed rocks and prevent the soil erosion. These are the importance of mosses. So this time pteridophyta, it include a horsetail and ferns, act as a soil binder and medicine. First terrestrial plants and have a vascular system, means in pteridophyta the vascular system xylem and phloem is present here. So main body parts saprophytes because it consists of true roots, stems and leaves. Leaves is of two types, small and large. If it is small it is called as microphyll, and if it is large it is called as macrophyll. So if it is small, it example is Salginella, and if it is large, example is ferns. If we go for the sporophytes, sporophytes bear sporangia. It is also called as a leaf-like appendages. That sporophytes bear sporangia, it's a leaf-like appendages. Sporangia also called as sporophylls. As you already know, sporangia also called as sporophyll. In some cases, sporophylls form cones. In some cases, sporophyll form cones. Example, Salginella. Sporangia is doing the meiosis type of the division and form the spores. These spores are small, multicellular, free-living, photosynthetic, and thalloid gametophytes. If I say about thalloid gametophyte, it is called as prothallus because it grow in a cool and damp and shady places. So, sporangia after doing the meiosis form spores, and spores is small multicellular free-living photosynthesis and thalloid gametophytes. They need water for the fertilization. The main part is they need water for the fertilization process. So water is needed, so it means male produces antheridia, and it creates a small spores called as anthrozoids. These anthrozoids needed water, and by the help of the water they go to the archegonia and form a zygote. These zygote are helpful to form embryo, that is female gametophyte, and also it is called as sporophytes, the dominant phase of pteridophyte. These are the dominant phase of pteridophyte. If they are for the plants, plant produces spores of similar kind, and these spores are called as homospores or ferns. Spores give rise to female and male gametophyte, and these female and male gametophyte retain on the plant sporophyte for variable period. If I go for the division, then pteridophyta is divided into Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, Pteropsida. So Phylopsida, it is Xylatum, and Lycopida is Alginella and Lycopodium. If it is go for Sphenopsida, it becomes Equestum, and if it is good for the Pteropsida, it is Diopteris, Pteris and Adentium. These are the four division. We are not going to discuss about the division. Okay. So plant produces micro and macrospores. If it is microspores, example is Salginella, it becomes heterosporous. And if it is macrospore, it becomes Salvinia, means archegonium is present and antheridium is present on the same part. Now next one is gymnosperm. Gymno means naked, sperma means seed. They may be medium sized and tall trees and shrubs. Before and after fertilizations, ovules are not enclosed by an ovary wall and remain exposed. Because they consist of lac ovary wall, redwood trees, Quinea, tallest tree species. Actually, before and after the fertilization, ovules is not enclosed by ovary wall and remain exposed. If we go for the roots, the root is a tap root, and it create a symbiosis with the fungus, and it consists of the name that is called as mycorrhiza. Example, pinus. Roots is coralloid root because it fixes the nitrogen, and it also consists of the bacteria, that is nitrogen fixing bacteria, like example caicus. And if it is for mycorrhiza, it become pinus. Now if we go for the stem is branched in the pinus and unbranched in the caicus. Mostly there is a difference coming after in this bryophyta about caicus and pinus. Now about the leaves. Leaves consist of stomata. It has a thick cuticle and sunken. The leaves is the needle-like leaves. Example coniferous, example pinus. If it is for the leaves, that leaves is pinnate, also persists for years, example caicus. Now what's the characteristic? Characteristic is they are well adapted, extreme in hydrate temperature. They also able in the survive in humidity, and also they have in the wind. Now for the next one, heterosporous. Heterosporous consists of haploid megaspores, that is the female, and these haploid microspores form these megaspores, or we can say haploid megaspores is a female and haploid microspores fuse together and form sporangia, which become sporophyll, and after the sporophyll it arranged spirally on the axis to form cones and staurobiles. Now for the male forms cones or staurobiles bearing microsporophyll or microsporangium, and if it is for female, cones or staurobiles and bearing megasporophyll or megasporangium. Now about the pinus. Pinus is monoecious plant, bisexual, male and female on the same plant. Caicus is dioecious plant, unisexual, male and female on the different plant. The megaspore mother cell differentiated from one of the cell of the nucellus, and the meiosis taken place to form 4 megaspores. This one of the megaspores enclosed with megasporangium form nucellus develop into female gametophyte, which bears 2 or more archegonium, that is female sex organs. Now there is a difference between caicus and pinus. Here is the flow chart of germination. Microsporangium become pollen grain become megasporangium, and then become a pollen tube, and pollen tube reaches to the archegonia, release male gametes near the mouth of archegonia. Then the fusion means fertilization taken place, it forms a zygote, and zygote forms an embryo. A simple starting and the last. Next one is angiosperm. As the video is going to be large, because plant kingdom is not a small type of a kingdom, so angiosperm, it is also called as flowering plant. Large number of the plants are varied in habitat. They are two types, microsporophic and macroscopic. Micro means tiny, the example Wolfia, and macrospore is tall, the example Eucalyptus. Seed is covered with fruits. Flowers have reproductive organ. One is male, another is female. Male is a pollen grain. Female produces ovule. Means ova. Most plant is highly economically important because they are used for food, fodder, fuel, and medicine. If we go for the differentiation, angiosperm is into two parts, dicot and monocot. Dicot, two cotyledons plus reticulate venation is there. Reticulum means साढ़े तिरछी जो होती है मिड की veins. Now monocotyledons, one cotyledon in a seed and they consist of the parallel venation like as a banana. Flower is of four parts, accessory part and reproductive part means essential and non-essential parts. Accessory part means calyx and corolla. Calyx means sepals, corolla means petals and they both include to form a perianth. If it is going for the reproductive part, androsium and zynosium. Androsium is the male part, female part is the zynosium. Male part consists of one unit of stamen and female part consists of one unit of carpel and has ovule. These ovule form present in the embryo sac which is 7-celled 8-nucleated stage. Clear? They do the reproduction by vegetative and sexual method. In pollination, pollen set off and reach to stigma. Pollen germinate to the pollen tube with the two male gametes and one tube nucleus. One gamete fuses with the egg, forms syngamy, and other secondary nucleus to form primary endosperm nucleus. Endosperm give the nutrition to the egg after the syngamy. The whole process is called as double fertilization. This pen endosperm in the ovule which changes into seed inside the fruit and zygote form an embryo. Ovary wall changes into pericarp that is called as fruit wall. Means the outer wall of the fruit is called as the pericarp. If we show the diagram will show that the pollen grains is landed over the stigma and the pollen tube is going through the style and this pollen tube reaches the ovary. In the ovary it going to the micropylar end where the synergid is present. And the synergid part also consists of egg cell and this egg cell consists of nucleus. The middle part is called as central cell. Central cell consists of two nucleus. This antipodal cell upper parts has no use after the formation of the fruit. They become degenerated antipodal cell and then they fuse with each other. The one cell nucleus of the male is going to the central cell that is triploid in form and the one nucleus is going to the egg cell to form a syngamy process. This is also called as fertilization. So there are two types of the fertilization, one nucleus going to the center and the nucleus going to the egg cell. It is called as a double fertilization process. So basically after this confirmation the plant kingdom is going to be finished. There are three types of the cycle which is not very important: haplontic, diplontic and haplodiplontic cycle. You will already read it about in any type of the site or your book. So this plant kingdom consists of these types of the chapters, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. And also in the description mode I already send you these types of I already fixed the link where you download the notes. So before it becomes late, you have to download the notes and learn it by your heart. Thank you and have a nice day, all the students.